I'm going back to Cali.
What's going on, everybody? Gem Mint here. You may have heard me promote the private Jim Lee signing that's going down this Saturday, November 22nd. I'm actually going to be there. I'm going to be out in California celebrating the 3rd anniversary of Ninja Funk, and I'm going to try to get some great content with Jim Lee, John Dolmayan, Tyler Kirkham, David Mack, and more. If you guys want to pick up any tickets for the signing, you can check out the link for Eventbrite, which I'm going to put in the description and in the pinned comment. If you're not in the Carlsbad, California area, you can check out the That Spider-Man booth whatnot for any of the streams. And I think I'm going to do a stream there as well Saturday night. So if you're on whatnot, bookmark it. If not, download it and follow me there. And with that being said, let's jump into this week's comics. So we're going to start off with the Image Skybound stuff. And we've got Capes, issue number 1. This is by Tyler Kirkham and Mark Englert. So this was a series that came out back in the day, and Kirkman wanted to re-release it. But when Mike started handing in pages, he really upped his game, and they kind of rehauled the whole series and reprinted the issue. I read it. It's kind of like The Boys-esque in the Invincible universe. It's like, what if you had this Capes Incorporated? What if being a superhero was a job? So that's what's going on here. I got to be honest, I didn't really love it. It was kind of like a funny, tropey kind of superhero book. But if you're digging the Invincible universe and you want to read more about that world, you could check this out. Keeping it moving with the Image stuff, we have Ghost Pepper. We're on issue number 5. I keep calling the creator Ludo Lullaby. It's probably like Lulabi or something, but with Adriano Lucas. So I haven't been loving this series, but I did like this issue. We're really coming to a head with the imposter who has been said to defeat the Cinder and send him to the moon, but we know that our main character, Ash, is actually the one who did that. So it seems like this fraud is on the verge of being exposed, and we finally got Ghost Pepper in the Ghost Pepper comic book, which is, you know, the very spicy pepper that nobody could eat, but of course our boy Ash is able to handle that, and it's part of the secret recipe for the companion he's with on the road here. Again, I don't really love Ghost Pepper, but this issue kind of did it for me, to be honest. And then we're on to G.I. Joe, Part 2 of the Dreadnock War. Very cool to see this unlikely alliance between the Cobra Commander and Duke. My bad, this one's by Joshua Williamson, Tom Riley, and Jordi Belair. So it's Cobra, the G.I. Joe versus the Dreadnoughts, and kind of plays out how you would think, escaping this biker gang. Crazy last panel here. I don't want to spoil it, but if you're a G.I. Joe fan, it's a fan favorite villain that comes back. But a lot of action in this fun series. The Dreadnock War so far, it's been like my favorite from the G.I. Joe Energon universe stuff. All right, on to some Spawn. We have Spawn the Dark Ages, issue 1 out of a 6-issue mini series by Liam Sharp. I'm a big fan of Liam Sharp. I believe he does traditional art, but then he's also a painter. We don't get any of the painted stuff in here. But honestly, I did not dig this whatsoever, man. This was kind of like, what if Conan was in the Spawn universe? It's sword and sorcery. The dialogue is that of the 1400s, and I just kind of felt like it was a drag, bro. Like, I don't even know what's going on here. This was not a traditional Spawn story. The Spawn-esque character that you see on the front here, we don't know how he became a Hell Spawn. He doesn't feel like a Hell Spawn. I'm so sad that I didn't like this. All right, on to the digital stuff. We've got No Man's Land, issue number 3 by Simon Kudransky. What a great series. You really get like a lot of history and lore of the Alaska, Russia, No Man's Land that connects the two during the winter, talking about how the United States purchased Alaska from Russia and what happened to the natives during that time. And you're seeing our FBI, or is it CIA, and KGB agents working together trying to solve the mystery of these murders, and we do come face to face with our killer. It gives you a lot of history, also like religious, biblical stuff. Great series. This should be a movie. Black and white with a splash of color. Great stuff. Speaking of Tyler Kirkham, he's got his Final Boss issue 1 re-released via Image Comics. This was a self-published title that he did a couple years ago. He started with Final Boss, and now it's worldwide. So big congrats to Tyler. He's an amazing artist, and he likes cool shit. And that's what you get in this book. You get cool shit. It's got muscles. It's got superpowers. It's got mysterious lore. It has tournament Mortal Kombat style fighting with fatalities. So Kirkman knows what's cool, and this book is cool. Final boss, I think I'll stick around for this one to see where it goes. It's kind of like a Moon Knight-inspired superhero. His grandfather found this amulet that gives him powers, and it's been passed down. And it's this guy just trying to make ends meet, whether he's doing security detail or mercenary work or cage fighting. So very cool stuff. It reminds me of 90s because that's what the 90s were all about. It's just cool stuff. I forgot to shout out David Miller and Ifshah Noor, who worked on this one as well. Everything Dead and Dying is here with issue number 3. This is by Tate Brombell, Jacob Phillips, Pip Martin, and Aditya Bidikar. I'm a huge fan of this series. It's a zombie story, but there's a little bit of a twist to it. If the zombies are kind of in their regular routine and they're fed, they don't attack humans, but this little city that our main character has kind of cultivated is under attack and under threat from outsiders. So that's kind of what happens here. Emotional, heart-wrenching stuff with his adoptive daughter that he's keeping alive, kind of like the governor, but she's not a head in a fish tank. She's actually, alive, not alive. She's actually undead and well. Is that a term? But keeping her alive, keeping her calm in a routine, but the routine gets shaken up heavily here, and it makes for very interesting storytelling. Great series so far. Exquisite Corpses is here with issue 7. This is by James Tynion in the 4th. He's joined by Michael Walsh, Claire Rowe, and Jordi Belair, Becca Carey on the coloring. So, this is a long-ass Halloween purge night, man. We're 7 issues in. We're in the same night. This issue plays with the idea of the person in charge of the game. He's in the building with the members of the 13 families, but his life is in danger too. Like, what happens if stuff goes wrong? What happens if a bomb detonates and the cameras are destroyed and these families' killers are killed off screen? They're going to be pretty pissed, and this guy's going to be held responsible. So that's kind of what this deals with. I don't even think this had a killer versus killer tournament bracket thing at the end of this one. This was kind of more showing us what's going on during this purge, but what's happening with those 13 families in this guy running the show behind the scenes. All right, then from Dynamite, we have Terminator Metal, issue number 2. I dug issue 1. I said I would stick with this one. This one's by Declan Shalvey and Rory McConville with Ian Marin, Colin Cracker, Jeffrey Eckelberry, and Nate Cosby. So it kind of makes issue 1 feel like a one-shot. We're thrown into this camp where the humans are enslaved by Terminators, T-600s. And there's this plan on how to break out. We hear, about the one character and the human colony that his wife may have escaped to. So they come up with this plan to escape. Of course, there's a little bit of a twist at the end. Even though it's kind of hard to review the review copies from Dynamite, you kind of like look at it like a 3D painting and you start to see past the watermark. And I really did dig this one, man. Terminator Metal. It's crazy. Like, we have Terminator, Predator, and Aliens running rampant throughout the comic book universe right now, and I'm here for it. All right, on to Marvel. Let's do all the Age of Revelation stuff together. Let's start with a title that I really loved with issue number 1, Omega Kids. So this is issue 2, and this is by Tony Fleece with Jenalette and Cifuentes Sujo. So I don't feel like issue 2 had as big of an impact as issue 1 did, but I still did like it. An older Quentin Quire is training this young group of powerful psychics, and they're in this kind of training atmosphere, breaking into a home and people's minds and trying to see if they're part of the insurgency. Problem is, Hope Summers is in there as well, and the kids try to attack a phoenix. Doesn't really work out too well, but we know from the events of issue 1 that Quentin Quire, he don't even know really what's going on here. So playing with those ideas has been fun. This kind of feels relevant to the main story because Revelation does make an appearance here, Doug Ramsey, and he knows about this squad that's being trained. The kids are more in control than Quentin is. So makes for some cool stuff. Omega Kids issue 2. Then we got Radioactive Spider-Man issue 2, which is kind of like the opposite of what happened with Omega Kids. I didn't really like issue 1. I kind of felt like the dialogue was corny. But issue 2, I think, stepped it up a little bit. This one's by Joe Kelly, who's typically a great writer. He's joined by Walker and Sotomayor. So Radioactive Spider-Man 2 introduces Miles and Gwen in the X years of the future, and they are pissed off with Peter Parker. Why is Peter Parker staying behind? He's taking care of Aunt May, But unfortunately, Aunt May has had a negative reaction to the X virus, the gene bomb that went off from the 3K group of mutants that caused this whole Age of Revelation. So that's kind of what we see here. What happened to MJ? What happened to Aunt May in this future? It's kind of like a horror story. So it was actually pretty good, pretty decent. Then we have The Last Wolverine, issue number 2. This one is by Amio, Salazar, and Lopez. So we get a team up, a reluctant Nightcrawler. So his mutant powers have been reverted. He's in human form, but he agrees to go on this mission with the new Wolverine, the Wendigo Wolverine hybrid that was trained by Wolverine to save Wolverine. We know that he's like this mindless assassin, the head angel of death for Dave Ramsey Revelation. So this is a whole kind of let's go ahead and break him out type of story. I'll tell you, the art was pretty cool. I kind of liked this version or this iteration of Wolverine. It's not like the happy-go-lucky Wolverine that we were introduced to in the first issue. It's him going on a mission into battle to save his mentor. And he does kind of eat somebody's face off. Then we've got Unbreakable X-Men issue 2. This one is by Gail Simone with Villa and Gruenjern. So this one is the one where one of the rogues siphons Galactus's powers, seemingly destroying Galactus, but becoming a large stone statue instead. But then it goes on a completely different story. I was kind of confused when I was reading this one, but it's a Gambit team up. There's this whole Leviathan kind of lore that's introduced out of nowhere, this character that you see right here. So Gambit and co are going to go defeat this character. But like, what happened with Galactus? What happened with Rogue? Like, it kind of just turns into an entirely different story. Yeah, I was confused on this one. And then the last one, we have the Book of Revelation, issue number 2, the Jed McKay kind of main story here. He's joined by Diaz, Parsons, and Cifuentes Sujo once again. So this surrounds this new little girl that has been recruited as one of the, what's the name again? One of the choristers, kind of one of Revelation's, I don't know, concubines or whatever you want to call it. But this is the little girl. She stumbles upon the ghost that's been haunting this area. We find out who that was in the last issue, and a lot of twists and turns in this one. It was kind of cool. The betrayal of his right-hand man, Chorister, and how he tries to sabotage the little girl, but how she flips that on him. So pretty interesting stuff. We're looking at the inner circle of Revelation, and that's what you get in this book. Good art, too. It kind of had like some 90s vibes, I felt like, with the art style. Speaking of 90s style, we have the X-Men of the Apocalypse, issue 1 by Jeff Loeb. He's joined by Simon DeMeo. So this story is like, what happens to the X-Men that were from the age of Apocalypse, and what if they were brought back to the present time? So you have, let me show you the team here real quick. Gambit, Forge, Sabretooth, Wildchild, Blink, Morph, and X-Man Nate Gray being brought to present time. And then in typical X-Men fashion, we go even more back in time in this issue. But yeah, they end up at Xavier's mansion, and there's this kind of battle showdown between the Uncanny X-Men and the X-Men of the Apocalypse. The X-Men of the Apocalypse are trying to save their timeline. I thought we wanted to get rid of the Age of Apocalypse. 30 years later, it's kind of an anniversary series. I'm digging it. The art is great. I liked revisiting this world, and it's kind of cool to see where Jeff Loeb is taking it towards the end of this issue. A lot of Marvel stuff lately, guys. So we have all new Spider-Gwen, a.k.a. Ghost Spider, a.k.a. Gwenom, a.k.a. There's a new symbiote with a new name in this one. I forget what it is. Stephanie Phillips with Villanelli and Milla. So I really do like the art on this title. I think it's got great art. And then Stephanie Phillips, she does a good job with the dialogue. It feels real, doesn't feel forced, feels very natural. And you have a symbiote story, a team up with Flash Thompson's Agent Anti-Venom and Ghost Spider, who was Gwenom, but the symbiote is now gone somewhere else, and it has the ability to infect multiple hosts. So that's what they're dealing with here. I'm a Spider fan, and I am digging this series. Then we're on to Captain America issue 5 by Chip Zdarsky. He is joined by Schuitt and Martin. So you can see the cover here. We do get the formation of the Avengers, because this is kind of like a retelling, a reimagining of the Silver Age Marvel universe. Captain America and him going to Latveria to fight Dr. Doom, learning of the true origins of Doom. They have Dave Colton, who is another Captain America. He's kind of like the modern Cap, and then Steve Rogers gets unfrozen and he joins him. Heavy stuff, man. Definitely U.S. agent vibes. The Cap that goes crazy and starts killing people, kind of committing war crimes. And then again, the meeting of Tony Stark and the formation of the Avengers. So nice, somber retelling. I do like it. It's got mood, it's got atmosphere, and it's just a good, serious read. Yeah, not only do we have Terminator, Aliens, and Predator, but we got Godzilla invading every publisher, it seems, in the comic book universe. So Godzilla destroys the Marvel Universe, issue 5, Jerry Dugan, Garone, Centronic, and Abatrov. Centron is probably the name. So it was actually a pretty fun issue. The Marvel heroes create this big robot to battle the huge kaiju, which is Godzilla. You got Peter Parker, Spider-Man, wielding the left arm, Miles Morales, Spider-Man on the right arm, Thor's in the heart or wherever he is. And Magic's sword gets blown up with Pym particles to stab Godzilla through the chest. That's not the only famous Marvel weapon that gets enlarged here. Well, here's a little shot of that. So it was fun, dumb stuff. I mean, I actually did enjoy it. It was actually pretty good. A lot of action, a lot of colorful stuff here. Just stupid, dumb fun. Oh, I forgot to even mention. So it's kind of like borrowing from Planet Hulk here on what is to be done with Godzilla. We'll just leave it at that. And we might as well talk about Predator killing the Marvel Universe with issue 4 by Benjamin Percy, Marcelo Ferreira, and Daniel Picotto with Frank D'Armata. So this is actually a really fun and brutal story. You have Marvel characters that are being ripped apart by predators. You got a predator that's being controlled by the good guys as the Weapon X, Predator X, including the Wolverine helmet and all that stuff. You have the traitor that is Kraven giving intel to the predators on where and when to strike our heroes. The art is great. It's action-packed, and you never know what's going to happen next. Who's going to die? Who's going to kill who? Fun stuff with Predator killing the Marvel Universe. So probably the most exciting thing to come out of the Imperial War is the new Nova ongoing. This is Centurion issue number 1, and this is by Jed MacKay with Lopez and Iacono. You don't have to have read Imperial to jump onto this. If you're a Dick Ryder fan, if you're a Richard Ryder Nova fan, you could just jump right in. Not only does he, reference the Imperial War, but the Annihilation War, him killing Annihilus, the Kree Skrull War. But basically what you're getting is Prime Nova. He's the last of the Zandarians. He carries all of their knowledge with them. And he's also a hero. So he answers these distress calls, a ship that's getting sucked into a black hole, taking on a job. He just has to take a meeting with the Kree and the Skrull. He doesn't want to agree to it, but they end up having a reason for him to agree to work for them and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like a Guardians of the Galaxy feeling comic featuring Nova. And then we have Punisher issue 3, the new ongoing series, the Redban, bloody, gory Punisher series by Benjamin Percy, Ota, and Nitro. Punisher is being controlled by Wilson Fisk. They've got some kind of contraption in his spinal cord going up to his brain, and they're trying to use him as a weapon, but Frank Castle seems to be breaking out of that mold. So bloody, gory, interesting story. What's going to happen when Frank finds out he's been played? I think a lot of people are going to be sorry that they did that. So fun stuff. If you're a Punisher fan, you got to be reading this one. And the last one from Marvel, we have Amazing Spider-Man issue 16 by Joe Kelly, also John Romita Jr., Hanna, and Menez. So this one is dealing with, we're back on Earth. So it's every other issue. One issue you're in space with Peter Parker. The other issue you're on Earth with Norman Osborn as Spider-Man and Ben Reilly as Peter Parker. So this one really deals with how Norman Osborn and Ben Reilly are dealing with being Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And they both seem to not really like it. And it seems like they're going to be changing course here in the upcoming issues. The interaction between Tombstone and Norman Osborn as Spider-Man was iconic. Tombstone straight calling him out. He's like, there's no way you're him. And the more that they fight in battle and breaking Tombstone's arm, he's like, yeah, you definitely ain't him. I actually thought this issue was kind of slow while I was reading it, but as I was looking back and thinking about what I was going to say about it, I actually did like this issue a lot, man. It was a little bit of action with Tombstone and Norman Osborn, and then like the kind of mentally dealing with the fact that he's Peter Parker with Ben Reilly and having to give Peter Parker credit for this scientific breakthrough that he's done here. So seems like they're both ready to be themselves and no longer be imposters of Spider-Man. All right, on to DC. We have Absolute Flash, issue number 9. This is by Jeff Lemire with Robles and Lucas. And unfortunately, man, I'm just not really excited about what's going on in the pages of Absolute Flash. This one is kind of all the weapons that they've been creating. It's not Star Labs. I forget what the name of the place is. Olympus. All the weapons that Olympus have been creating, it's kind of backfiring on them. We're finding out more of the plans. What did they plan to do with Barry Allen? What happened with Wally West? Kind of understanding his powers more and how if he's not in control, he'll be in the past, present, and the future all at the same time. And the little monkey gorilla Grodd is actually able to kind of bring him back down to Earth. But at what cost? I don't know. I'm just not really digging it, though. It's kind of like one of the slower titles from the Absolute Universe. And then, yeah, I can't believe it. I had to give it pick of the week. It is the Batman Deadpool issue number 1, the DC Comics version. Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. Let me tell you something, man. Grant Morrison proves why he's one of the elite writers in the comic book industry in this issue. You have universes having sex with each other, creating new amalgam characters, a return of one of my favorite amalgam characters, and just telling this great story of Batman and Deadpool going up against Cassandra Nova. The writing is impeccable. The art by Dan Mora, he's one of the best doing it right now. Nice, beefy, chunky story. Amazing artwork here. Funny dialogue between Deadpool and Batman, but serious battles as well. It's super meta. I mean, you have the meta writer. Grant Morrison wrote himself into Animal Man, and he writes himself into this book as well. I don't want to give you that spoiler, but yeah, here's the Marvel and the DC universe. They're kind of one night stand to create this here. What's canon, what's not. It was an awesome story, man. And then just like the Marvel version, there's a bunch of backups. So James Tynion, Joshua Williamson, and Scott Snyder do a Hellblazer Doctor Strange team up, which was okay. It was actually, what was cool about that story is the kind of what's going on while they're interacting in the Sanctum Sanctorum. You have Ghost Rider straight dragging Swamp Thing until Swamp Thing is able to break free. That was kind of fun. That was kind of like the main backup. Then you had a Nightwing Laura Kinney story. Great story about Nepo heroes. Nightwing and X-23 talking about living in the shadows of Batman and Wolverine as they have a little team up. That was actually a great backup by Tom Taylor, Adriana Lucas, Bruno Redondo, and Wes Abbott. Then Mariko Tamaki does a Harley Quinn Incredible Hulk story with Tamara Bonvillain, Amanda Connor, and Dave Sharp. So it feels kind of like a happy-go-lucky, it's Amanda Connor. She has fun art style. It was kind of just a goofy little story, no big deal. Static Miss Marvel by G. Willow Wilson, Dennis Cohen, and Klaus Janson with Francisco Segala and Steve Wins. That's the last story here. I actually didn't really care for that story. I thought it was just kind of bland or whatever. Miss Marvel and Static Shock. But that main story, the Grant Morrison story, is something to write home about. It's something that you should definitely check out. It's a one and done. You don't need to have read anything before, but it might actually benefit you to read Marvel's story, the Deadpool Batman issue number 1. So that's it for this week's comics. 24 issues in less than 24 hours. I'm going to be on a plane to California. Make sure to check me out if you're there at the Ninja Exchange in Carlsbad, California. Come say what's up. Pick up tickets at Eventbrite, or catch us on Whatnot for some live streaming Saturday night. Catch you guys next time. Stay minty fresh. Peace.